Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, it looks like we have another sign in the heavens that's occurring. Add that to the list for this year and for this month. I found out about this one through this email that was sent to me by JD Briscoe. It says, Comet to approach Earth for first time since Neanderthals lived. And yes, I know that there's two ways that you say Neanderthals, and it should be Neanderthals or whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Thank you. And on outsider.com, it says that this is a highly rare comet. Of course it is, because once every 50,000 years. But there's a lot more details to it that I think are pretty interesting. Before I get into that, let's just do a little refresher why we might be interested specifically in comets. It comes from something that Joseph Smith said. This is from the teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith. He says, Then will appear one grand sign of the Son of Man in heaven. But what will the world do? They will say it is a planet, a comet, etc. But the Son of Man will come as the sign of the coming of the Son of Man, which will be as the light of the morning cometh out of the east. So they're saying that this is once every 50,000 years, and that very well could be, it may be an actual comet, but maybe it's not. Joseph Smith says that the sign of the Son of Man will probably, and I guess most certainly, will be confused with other natural phenomena. So let's read some of the details about this comet, and there are some pretty interesting details, like where it's coming from and some other things. A comet that only orbits the sun once every 50,000 years is expected to be visible from Earth with the naked eye. The last time the comet visited, the Sahara Desert was wet and fertile. Neanderthals and woolly mammals still walked the Earth, and humans were, as far as we know, yet to reach North America. And of course, that's according to science. C 222E3 ZTF was first spotted by the Zwicky Transient Facility, ZTF, on March 2nd, 2022, and is set to reach its closest point to the Sun, or perihelion, on January 12th, 2023. So pretty soon, just a couple weeks. ZTF is an astronomical survey conducted by the Palomar Observatory in California. So I decided to add this to my timeline of things, of course, that have already happened. This is not a trying to piece together the future, but it's just looking at things that have already happened. Everything that's in purple is a sign in the heavens. Okay. And so I'm putting this down for March 2nd, since that's the day that it was discovered. So it's down here. And you can see 2022 has had a lot of signs in the heavens. A lot. Okay, let's get back to the article. We're going to come back to the timeline in just a second. Comet C 2002 E3 ZTF is currently located around 117 million miles from Earth. It's been a while since we've talked about 17, but there it is again. Just as a quick recap, if anyone's new, there's been a lot of 17s this year. President Nelson is the 17th president of the church. April General Conference, he announced 17 temples to complete 100. His main talk of that conference was 17 minutes and 17 seconds long. His last talk, called Now is the Time, comes exactly 17 years from a talk that he did where he shared the same poem, and that talk was titled Now is the Time to Prepare. So these two twin talks were 17 years apart. There's been other things. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but there's a lot to it. We've thought about the fact that 17, you get rid of the one, and you just think about the 7. 7 is the number of perfection and completion. Could he be the prophet that completes this dispensation, or be the prophet of the second coming when Christ comes? Don't know. Don't know, but there's been a lot of 17s. Very suspicious. So, okay, so this comet, currently 117 million miles from Earth, it's scheduled to make a close approach to our planet in early February 2023, coming within roughly 26 million miles of us on the first day of the month. This is equivalent to more than 109 times the average distance between the Earth and the Moon. Okay, artist depiction. Robert Macy, Deputy Executive Director of the UK Royal Astronomical Society, told Newsweek that under very good conditions, the comet, which is estimated to complete one orbit around the Sun every 50,000 years, might be visible to the naked eye as soon as the second half of January. The predicted peak brightness of the object is around magnitude 4.7 around February 1st. If current brightness predictions are correct, C2002 E3 ZTF will be the first naked eye comet since NEOWISE put on a spectacular show in 2020. Okay, NEOWISE. So let's go back. I put this on the timeline. Let's go back to 2020. So NEOWISE was discovered right here. Let me zoom in so you can see it better. And it wasn't until now that I realized the interesting timing of its discovery, because it was only basically okay. So this is what happened. The 18th of March, there was an earthquake in Magna, Utah, which caused the angel Moroni on the Salt Lake Temple to drop his trumpet. Okay, a clear visual symbol of an angel going quiet. 2 days later, the First Presidency calls the missionaries home. Okay, 5 days later after that, all temples worldwide close due to the pandemic. And then 2 days after that, there's this comet, NEOWISE. And this comet is the brightest comet since Hale-Bopp in 1997. Okay, so it stood out. And it came at an interesting time. The pandemic had reached the United States officially the 13th of January of 2020. But it wasn't really until like March that things like started, getting crazy with the masks and things closing down and stuff like that. So that comet came as the pandemic was ramping up, or at least the effects of the pandemic, the way that it affected society, started ramping up. Probably not a coincidence. So if we have that comet that seemed to attend that event, and now we have one incoming, and it's after all this weird stuff that's happened this year. It's after President Nelson calls on us to be the people of the second coming. 300 temples are announced. Russia's at war, invading Ukraine. There's all these other signs in the heaven. I'm not going to go over the whole list right now. It might mean something. It might mean something. I had forgotten, by the way, that already it's only been like a month, but we had that first ever election day blood moon. It was a lunar eclipse. It's never happened before, right? So you had that. You had crazy things going on Christmas, and now we have this incoming comet. And I haven't gone over some of the things yet that's interesting about it. Let's continue. C22 E3 ZTF is currently visible with good binoculars or a telescope in the early hours of the morning before dawn, and is passing through the constellation of Corona Borealis. Okay, so a comet, the first one that will be visible to the naked eye since NEOWISE 2 years ago, is in the constellation of Corona Borealis. So let's go to Corona Borealis. Its Latin name, inspired by its shape, means northern crown. In classical mythology, Corona Borealis generally represents the crown given by the god Dionysus to the Cretan princess Adriadne, Ariadne, and sent by her set by her in the heavens. Other cultures liken the pattern to a circle of elders, an eagle's nest, a bear's den, or even a smoke hole. All of it very interesting imagery and things to associate with this constellation. But the one that really sticks out is Northern Crown, right? Uh, I should have pulled this up. Okay, let's see. You may remember, let's see, it's in this one over here, that Rabbi Gerfing gave me this. And we wondered how, if you were to overlay this calendar over the last 2,000 years, with Christ coming right here, okay, say that this is the year 0, or the year 1, matching up with Judah and Nisan, the first spring month. And then you go through time and you have the great apostasy during summertime, and then the church is restored in Tishri, which is the first fall month, and that's associated with Ephraim. And then as you continue on, as the dispensation closes, the next thing up would be winter, right? And it would be Dan. Dan is the head, or the one that leads winter, the one that leads this group of tribes. I should have also pulled up the order of encampment. Let's see. LDS Israelite order of march. I'll find it again. Numbers 1 through 10. Yeah, see, here it is. So the way that they camped around the tabernacle, it was in groups of 3. There was one tribe that was over the other 2. It was like the leader of its side. Judah on the east over Zebulun and Issachar, Reuben over Simeon and Gad, Ephraim over Manasseh and Benjamin, Dan over Naphtali and Asher. So it's interesting because Dan, which could be symbolic of the millennium, essentially the beginning of the millennium, it's interesting that he is in the north, right? And Corona Borealis means northern crown. It's interesting, right? Here's a depiction of it right here. Here's the crown. And of course, there's a lot of royal, kingly imagery when it comes to Christ coming. I mean, he's literally going to be the king of the world. But there's more too. Like if we go to Daniel 7 and verse 27, it says, "And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him." So we know that essentially it's compared to the second coming is compared to a marriage, right? The church is the bride, Christ is the bridegroom, and we know that through this marriage, the two are going to rule the world, right? The kingdom will be theirs, and so Christ is going to be crowned, but we're also going to rule with him. I don't know in what way, but in some kind of way, we're going to rule with him. In Revelation 20, verse 4, "And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, in which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years." D&C 43, verse 29. For in mine own due time will I come upon the earth in judgment, and my people shall be redeemed and shall reign with me on the earth. And then finally, D&C 103, verse 7. And by hearkening to observe all the words which I, the Lord their God, shall speak unto them, they shall never cease to prevail against the kingdoms of the world, until the kingdoms of the world are subdued under my feet, and the earth is given unto the saints to possess it forever and ever. But insomuch as they keep not my commandments, and hearken not to observe all my words, the kingdoms of the earth shall prevail against them. Okay, so very appropriate if, with all that in mind, very, very appropriate if what this comet actually is the sign of the Son of Man. It could be. Who knows? Maybe it is. Remember, the world's not going to recognize it at first, according to Joseph Smith. And furthermore, there's actually more. We read this recently. Okay, let's see. Where do I start? I can't highlight on here, so I have to. Okay. Who are they? Who are they? They are the children of darkness or night. But to the saints he says, ye are not of the night, nor of darkness. Of that day should okay, nor of darkness of that day. This is weird. Should come upon you unawares. John the Revelator says, 14th chapter, 7th verse, that the hour 7th verse, that the hour of his judgment is come. They are precursors or forerunners of the coming of Christ. Read Matthew 24th chapter and all the prophets. He says, then shall they see the sign of the coming of the Son of Man in the clouds of heaven. How are we to see it? Answer, as the lighting up of the morning, or the dawning of the morning cometh from the east and shineth unto the west, so also is the coming of the Son of Man. The dawning of the morning makes its appearance in the east and moves along gradually. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. It will be small at its first appearance and gradually become larger until every eye shall see it. Shall the saints understand it? Oh yes, Paul says so. Shall the wicked understand it? Oh no, they attribute it to a natural cause. They would probably suppose it to be two great comets coming in contact with each other. So, only time will tell, what's going on with this comet, but that anytime that there's a comet, and especially one that seems significant, seems rare, one that we can see with the naked eye, we might want to pay attention to it. That's all I'm saying. Um, so I think it's really neat. Let's continue on. So yeah, so it's in the constellation Corona Borealis, the Northern Crown, possibly to bring us our crowns to reign with Christ, and then Christ already has his crown if Adam and his happened, presumably. I don't know, or at least the part where he's coronated. I don't know how it goes. I don't know the order of things. It will get easier to spot. Um, it'll get easier to spot the comet over the next few weeks as it gradually brightens. Quote, it's traveling in the general direction of Polaris, the North Star, where we'll be able to find it in early February. By then, it should be visible throughout the night. Massey said the comet will not be the easiest object to find. He recommends looking on a clear night from a dark site, away from light pollution, where the moon is not in the sky. So it is best to avoid the days around the full moon on February 6th. Quote, I would recommend the use of a finder chart like this one to help find it with binoculars. Binoculars are ideal for beginners trying to find a comet as they're easy to use, whereas a telescope has a much smaller field of view. If you can see it with the binoculars, then try it with your naked eye. Since the comet will still be quite faint around the time of its close approach, people in areas with dark skies might be able to spot it with their own eyes, but a pair of binoculars will improve your chances of success. Although it's unlikely that it'll be as impressive as Comet NEOWISE, it's still worth trying to catch a glimpse of C2022 E3 ZTF, since it won't return for another 50,000 years. The comet will likely fade below naked eye visibility by the second week of February next year, and by April, it'll be close to the sun in the sky and significantly fainter, so will be very hard to find even with a telescope. All right. There were a few just kind of interesting things with the mythology. I just wanted to point this out. This is Greek mythology, talking about the Corona Borealis constellation. It was generally considered to represent a crown given by Dionysus to Ariadne, the daughter of Minos, I think it's Minos, of Crete, after she had been abandoned by the Athenian prince, Theseus. When she wore the crown at her marriage to Dionysus, let's see, was given by Dionysus to daughter abandoned by the prince. Okay. He placed it in the heavens to commemorate their wedding. An alternate version has the besotted Dionysus give the crown to Ariadne, who in turn gives it to Theseus after he arrives to Crete to kill the Minotaur, that the Cretans have demanded tribute from Athens to feed. The hero uses the crown's light to escape the labyrinth after disposing of the creature, and Dionysus later sets it in the heavens. So anyway, there's some, it seems marriage imagery here, which is interesting. So it just, I don't know. Anyway. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for this one. So, hopefully we can catch a glimpse of it. Hopefully the skies will be clear in your area. Hopefully it'll actually be the sign of the Son of Man, and then everybody will see it for sure. But we'll just have to wait and see. Alright, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.